Hey guys, we were actually on, and for some reason we had technical difficulties. Not sure why, but again, this video is going to be one of those 10-15 minute videos. We're going to try to do it as quick as we can. I just want to give you a point of view from a law enforcement point of view of what happened and what to look for on the Trump Tower, the Cybertruck. And his name is Matthew Liversberg. The Special Forces. I'm sure everybody's watching it, been paying attention to it, the explosion that happened there with the vehicle. And the reason I want to give you my point of view is, like I was explaining it earlier, is a pastor, a good pastor that has good biblical theology is going to false pastor, false teacher, and so on. He's going to explain things to you, of telling you what to look for and what not to look for. Mm-hmm. Well, I want you to see it this way because I was watching that, it was a live now Fox News, and they had a press conference there in Las Vegas. You had the sheriff there, you had DEA, you had FBI there. If anything that we've learned from 2020, it's kind of hard to trust the government, right? It really is. Yes. There's things that have been happening, and there's a lot of questions because there's not a lot of answers. And on this point, I want to give you a point of view from my perspective as being currently in law enforcement. And I'll give you just a quick background. I'm a current detective, firearms instructor. I was in SWAT. Been doing it over 15 years. So let me give you some, as I was watching that video of the press conference, here are some key words that kind of came out to me, and I was discussing it with Dora, and I said, look, there's something off here, and I understand when it's a ongoing investigation, there's some things that you can't discuss. Right. I get that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I've explained that to Dora. When there's an ongoing investigation, there's things you don't want to give out because it will mess up your investigation. If somebody out there is watching it, they may go out there and destroy evidence, clean up evidence, and do other things. So you don't want to mess up your investigation. So I get that part. But here are the things that I want you to pay attention to. In fact, I'll link that video of the one I'm talking about on our comments on here on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, go up there and follow us on Facebook because they're removing people from following us. Mm-hmm. We're being shadow banned. Our videos being flagged and so on. So I want you to look at this. If you go watch that video, and it's about a 23-minute video, they show a driver license, and it's kind of burnt. It looks like a paper ID deal. And yet, the firearm that was there, which was a AR and a Desert Eagle 50 caliber pistol, which is a pretty hefty pistol mm-hmm. to carry around, kind of got so burnt that it's almost unrecognizable. But yet, a driver license and ID survived. The person was unrecognizable, they say, because he was burned beyond recognition. But yet, a ID and driver license has a little bit of burn marks, and
you're able to see it completely.
You're able to see it
person
completely.
Is. Yeah. So
very clear.
And that's questionable. Yes.
That's questionable.
Because where do men carry their
in a wallet? And none of us have a fireproof wallet, at least that I know of. I mean, unless somebody does. Another thing I want you to pay attention to, they said that he was shot in the head, that he apparently shot himself in the head prior to the explosion. And I was explaining this to Dora that from a law enforcement part, that when we send a person for an autopsy, if the person, say for instance, is like me and I was to shoot myself in the head, which I want everybody to know I'm not suicidal.
Amen.
So if I shot myself in the head, you would get an autopsy and they would tell me, they would tell the person, if I died from the gunshot wound, or if I died from a stab wound, or if I die from bleeding to death. Why? Because
Cause of death.
Cause of death, because all the organs are still there. They will tell you the cause of death. Well, when a person is completely burnt up, where there's no organs, no tissue, and it's just bones. And sometimes there's not even complete bones either because of the
Right.
fire
This
and the
is-
explosion.
yeah.
You won't know what the cause of death. You won't know if the person was already dead before the explosion. And you may say, wait a minute, he was driving the vehicle. Remember, it's a self-driving vehicle.
Yes, it's got the capability of that.
It's got the capability to be driving around the neighborhood and then go and drive. Because, in fact, if you look it up, you can give a destination to that vehicle and it'll get you to that destination. Look it up. Unless they already start removing that, but look it up. So that's something to think about. He's also in Special Forces. So I want you to think of something. He's a Green Beret. He's highly trained. Why would he have fireworks, gas cans, and racing fuel in back of the bed for an explosion? He's Special Forces. He's capable of building explosives to do a massive explosion. Something to think about. Just think about that. Because it showed in back of the truck that there was gas cans, racing fuel, which is VP racing fuel, high octane fuel, and there was fireworks. Those guys have access to C4 grenades and so on, and they're trained to do explosives. Just something to think about. In law enforcement, there's a term that other people use, which is a coincidence. We in law enforcement don't believe in coincidences at all. You can ask any officer if they believe in coincidences, especially a detective. You can ask a detective, do you believe in coincidence? And immediately we will tell you no. We believe in evidence. We believe that we can gather evidence and not coincidences. Think about this. The guy that went to do the New Orleans, they were in the same base.
They're from the same base.
From the same base. Both serve in the military. Both rented vehicles from the same place. That's not a coincidence. You can't have somebody serving the same military, same station, same base, rent the vehicles from the same location, and then conduct their business on the same day. Can't do it. That's not a coincidence. So think about that. I just mentioned self-driving car. Now, this one, it's like somebody just, somebody decided, you know what, we need to plan this. And in my opinion, I believe it was planned. I don't believe it's the guy that's in there. And I'll give you a keyword why. He purchased both of those firearms on December the 30th. Think about that. He's Special Forces. And he doesn't have these firearms already?
Right.
I'm law enforcement. Come on. I have firearms like that. He's Special Forces. He's been doing it for 20 years.
Right. He's got to have his collection.
He's got to have his collection.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a toys for people. Like you have hot rods. You're doing hot rods. You're going to collect hot rods. You do firearms. You do firearms instructor. You're in Special Forces. You're going to collect firearms because that's what you enjoy doing. He's been doing it for 20 years, and he just purchased those two firearms on December 30th, and then when it conducted this on January 1st. Think about that. That's a good question to be asking. The DE agent on that one also said, these are key words. He said the materials that were gathered was not what we expected from an individual like this that is in Special Forces and is highly trained. He said it from his own mouth. Maybe he's taking it back now because he probably said, whoa, I just threw some key words out there that I shouldn't have thrown. Here's another thing. They said the DNA of his kid does not match him. Now, somebody might be throwing that out there and saying, well, this is the reason he did that because it was possibly the DNA was another dad. so the kid has a different dad. But I believe it's possibly this one instead. The DNA does not match, possibly because that's not him inside that vehicle. That may be a keyword somebody's throwing out there to let people know, look, the DNA didn't match him. They didn't match, and they should be matching. It could possibly be there. What am I saying? There's a lot of stuff that's going to be coming out on the news media that we have to be cautious on what we believe and what we don't believe, and we have to pay attention to keywords. We have to pay attention to body language. We have to start learning on how to discern from the truth and the lies.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because there's going to be a lot of deception.
Yes, and we're only on day 3 of 2025.
Yes. Did you hear the gentleman that put an explosive on a train track? Did you hear about the other gentleman that was on a 18-wheeler and stopped the interstate because the officer did a traffic stop on him, and then he said he had an explosive inside the 18-wheeler? Did you hear about that? Did you hear about the Queens that 10 people were, I think it's 11 now, were killed in the shooting? That men were waiting outside a club until they exited and they started shooting people? Are you hearing everything that's going on? Of course, we all know about the New Orleans, and you see that. But how convenient is it that in the New Orleans also, when they went to go search the house, it got caught on fire before they entered the house? So all the evidence is gone now. These are questions that we're going to have to ask ourselves. Are we truly going to believe everything that is being posted out there, especially from your news channels?
Yeah.
Especially from them, because they've discredited themselves in 2020. They did. And if you go and look, I believe Ryan's show, he put up a new one right now. Go look at it. I actually just started watching it just now. I'm going to go back and start finishing it, because I just started watching it. And they're actually discussing the same thing I'm discussing here. And I wanted to make this video way earlier. I was going to make it yesterday, but we just got so busy on doing things. Now, we are busy. Now, me and Dora wonder why. How can some people do 2 to 3 videos a day?
I know. It's just like they just keep posting and posting. I'm like, wow, they must not be doing nothing else but just that.
So I just want you to think about that. What if it comes out and says that this guy is not him?
Yeah.
What if it does come out and say that it is him, but was he shot before? Here's the thing you need to look at. Go back and watch that video. As a firearm instructor and law enforcement officer, anytime you fire your weapon, there's a flash. Go watch that video 20, 50, 100 times. There is no flash inside the vehicle prior to the explosion.
Right. All you see is the explosion going on.
When somebody shoots themselves, you will see a flash go out from the firearm, and there was no flash. These are questions we have to ask ourselves.
Yes.
And not just take everything that somebody gets out there and says on the news media to tell you to believe. Guys, all I want to tell you is just buckle up. 2025 just started. Buckle up. It's going to be a bumpy ride. There's going to be some crazy stuff happening. Don't get in fear.
Right.
Just get prepared.
That's right. Which is what we've been saying, all along. If you've been following us on our channel, that's what we've been saying. You just have to get prepared. And you have to be prepared, definitely spiritually, that way when things like this happen, you're like, wow, this, it's being revealed, it's being unfolded exactly how the Word of God says. And really, you shouldn't be, like so out there amazed by what's happening. No, you should be more as in, okay, I need to really get, buckle down and see what else we need to start preparing. Of course, pray for these families. Pray for anything else, that could be lurking already or trying to go off, or anything. You just have to be prayed up.
Get mentally prepared. Seriously, get mentally prepared. Because I've always said I don't like crowds. I don't like to hang around crowds anyway, and I would really advise everyone not to be around crowds, especially this month. I wouldn't go to the inauguration if you're thinking of doing that. I would stay as far as I possibly can away from that place. I'm telling you, we're gonna see a lot of setups. We're gonna see a lot of things. And here's a question: are they activating sleeper cells? Have they been activated? We know they're here.
Yeah.
So, guys, it's not to be fearful, but it's just to start thinking about things, because there's a lot of questions on that one there. He's Special Forces. Why did he buy 2 weapons 2 days prior to that? Why did he have those weapons? Maybe he wasn't going to use them.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's right.
and then you got fireworks in the back of the truck and gasoline instead of actual explosion. And why why rent a cyber truck that you know that is bulletproof, that you know it's not going to blow up like another vehicle? Questions. Questions.
Yes.
So, actually, the Bible says test everything. So, guys, we just wanted to share this with you, a quick one right quick, and just enjoy your weekend. We may do another video tomorrow if we get a chance, but just keep preparing, like Dora said, and most importantly, get right with the Lord.
Yes, that's right.
So, guys, thanks for watching, and we will see you on the next one.